What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Tanko Bear, Culver Tech Repair. We get everything tech, news, gaming, and nerd related. And today we have a very special video. It is the dual graphics video. We are going to see if this graphics card, the R7 250, and dual graphics is really worth your money. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so this is it. This is the R7 250 from MSI. It's the overclocked edition. If you've been paying attention to my channel, this was given to me by Jay's 2 Cents. And it is to be used in my dual graphics video, so I'm not really going to go over it a whole lot here, but it is 1 GB of GDDR5 memory. It runs on the PCIe 3.0 bus, and it's DirectX 11.2 compatible. Here on the back, it tells you just some stuff about the MSI Afterburner, the solid cap design, and the super ferrite chokes. Some more things about this card. It does run on the PCI Express 3.0 by 8 bus, DirectX 11.2, OpenGL 4.3, minimum of 1 GB of system memory, and a CD/DVD drive. Now in the box, besides the graphics card, you also get the driver disc. If you don't have access to the internet, use this disc. If you do, go to the website and get the latest drivers. But you can also get the Catalyst software and Afterburner off this disc. And you have the quick user's guide, which folds out into a billion different languages. But let's get into the card itself. You can see it's a very, very small design. I do like the cooler on it though. I really like the design. I mean, for as cheap as a card as it is, I believe this card is like $80, $80, $90. From what I've tested so far, it's fairly quiet, and there's hardly any power draw. As you can see on most cards, there is usually a 6-pin or an 8-pin power right here, but there's nothing on here. This is powered just from the PCI bus on the bottom. So there's no external power actually going to this card. Here on this side, we do have the color covered by the MSI caps. We have VGA, HDMI, and DVI out, along with the little stylish MSI logo here that'll show off in the back of your computer. He said this fan, it's a fairly well-designed fan. You can see the heat sink here. I don't really see this being much of an issue because this card is meant to be ran in dual graphics, and it doesn't really get very hot. So now that we're back on the topic of dual graphics, I'm going to meet you guys back over on my computer and go over some graphs with you guys. Alright guys, so I did a bunch of number crunching and I finally got the dual graphics figured out, and I was quite surprised with the results. There was 2 tests I ran. I did Valley Basic, which was, I used the Valley benchmark on the basic setting, and I did Battlefield 4 at medium settings in multiplayer, all on the same map. The same map pool, same time with fraps, and all that stuff. So, to start off with, I just did the APU, the A10 7850K, with no overclock, and I will show you that graphics now. The Valley benchmark average FPS was 23.1, and the Battlefield 4 average FPS was 30. So very respectable for just a, $185 CPU APU combo. I mean, it was very, very playable in Battlefield 4 on medium settings. So if you're a person that needs a cheap rig to be able to do that with, and you don't really care about graphics, you can easily play Battlefield 4 on medium settings in multiplayer with this. Now keep in mind, I did upgrade the RAM to 2133 MHz RAM, and if you go up to 2400, you will see a couple more FPS difference. I recommend having at least 2133 RAM. I'm using the G-Skills series 2133 8GB kit, and it really did increase it from my 1600 Corsair Vengeance kit. Now from the APU with no overclock, I went in to the APU and I did a overclock on the graphics portion. I'm not worried about the CPU portion because the CPU portion is not that important to gaming. So with the APU overclock, I got a 4% increase in Valley Basic. It went up to 24.2, and I got a 6% increase in Battlefield 4 with 32 frames per second. Now I decided to go in and do dual graphics. Now this took a little while to figure out how to set up, but overall it wasn't too bad. I went to AMD's website, I made sure I had the latest Catalyst 13.2 beta downloaded, or 13.3, whatever it is now. And I plugged in the graphics card. The graphics card has no power, as you've seen in the video. And it didn't recognize the dual graphics at first. I had to go back in and download drivers for the other card. And finally, when it restarted, a graphic popped up that said, hey, would you like to enable dual graphics? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's the whole reason I'm doing this. So, I took the overclocked APU, and I took the R7-250, and I overclocked it to, on the core, 1150 megahertz, and the memory was 1200 megahertz. And these are the scores I got. I got a 60% increase in FPS on Valley Basic with 37.2, and a 60% increase in FPS in Battlefield with an average frame per second of 48, with a max of 75. So, is dual graphics worth it? Well, consider the price point here. The A10 7850K right now in US money is about $185. The R7-250 overclocked edition from MSI is about $90. So you're looking at $275. Okay, so if you buy just the APU, you'll be spending $185, and you'll be able to play Battlefield 4 at reasonable frame rates. 38 was the max, but it averaged around 30. So it is playable on medium settings with the 2133 RAM. But if you spend the extra $90 to do the dual graphics setup, you get a 60% increase. I was expecting maybe a 20 to 30% increase at most, but I got a 60% increase going from a average of 30 to an average of almost 50. So almost 20 frames per second difference just from adding a $90 graphics card. So I was very surprised at these results, and really I think it would be worth it, considering if this is in your budget. If your budget is a sub, say $600 system, this would be perfect to be able to play any medium games, especially older games that don't require very much graphics power. You could do it very, very easily. Now, I would not recommend the CPU for rendering, since it is 4 cores. I use my FX 8350 for that, but that's not who this is targeted for. This is targeted for people who want a simple all-in-one solution, and if they want to get even better performance, they can add on a sub $100 graphics card and get 60% better performance in their games. So, like I said, the dual graphics solution that I have here is $275. So if you want to go up to the top of the line, or almost top of the line for AMD right now, this isn't even the very top, you could go with the R9 290 and the FX 8350. And that would come up to almost $700. So there's a $400 difference between the medium-high tier and this low tier. Really just depends on your budget. If you had the budget, I would say to go ahead and go with the R9 series and the 8350, but this is targeted for people who have smaller budgets. I think there will be better patches in the future in order to allow other series of graphics cards to do dual graphics with the APU. To be able to have more memory with the GPU instead of the 1 gigabyte, maybe they could have 2 or 3 gigabyte cards to do dual graphics with that. But that would almost defeat the purpose, because that would mean the graphics cards would cost more, but it would still be cheaper than the FX system with the R9 290. So it depends on which way you're going. But for my tests here, it is highly recommended. If you go with the A10 series APUs or any APUs, go with the dual graphics solution. I mean, I got a 20% or a 20 frames per second increase in my games for under $100. I mean, you can't beat that for the price. And people were saying they experienced micro stuttering from dual graphics. I experienced no stuttering. It was very smooth gameplay. I had no issues whatsoever. So in this certain situation with my A10 7850K and the R7-250 OC from MSI, dual graphics gets my seal of approval. Alright guys, if you have any other questions about dual graphics or want to know more about the AMD products I used today, please feel free to comment down in the comment section down below. Like and share this video. Get me out there, get more people to see my awesome content. You can find me here on YouTube, you can find me on Twitter at TankoBear92, and you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/KobearTechRepair. See you guys next time.